I am not going anywhere. I wouldn't be running if I didn't absolutely believe that I am the best candidate to beat Donald Trump in 2024.
If he doesn't drop out in the next week or two, a whistleblower will emerge, somebody who has some fortitude, some ethics, some morals inside of Joe Biden's cabinet, somebody inside of that White House who knows what's going on, who understands the cover-up, and they will leak something to you for your primetime show.
Reports claim a coordinated Democratic rebellion is set to unfold during a brutal 48-hour stretch for Biden.
The first shots fired in the Democrats' civil war. It was Nancy Pelosi who pulled the trigger on Biden's favorite morning show.
He has said firmly this week he is going to run. Do you want him to run?
I want him to do whatever he decides to do. And that's the way it is. Whatever he decides, we go. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short.
If any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me in the convention.
Biden's trying to do something he's never done before. Win the election without any help.
New York Times reporting donors have told the largest pro-Biden super PAC that roughly $90 million in pledges are now frozen if Biden remains at the top of the ticket.
The New York Times was reporting that longtime Biden confidants are trying to figure out how to tell him it is time to go.
Once they're playing the money card, that's really the strongest thing. If you don't have money, you're really done for.
Biden's about to realize that the presidency isn't the most powerful thing in Washington. The Democrat machine is. We're witnessing a D-Day level invasion, air, ground, sea. Barack Obama just directed George Clooney to send up the bat signal.
In a genuinely shocking defection, George Clooney is turning his back on Joe Biden. The Hollywood heavyweight, who just last month co-hosted a star-studded $30 million fundraiser for Biden, now says, we need a new nominee. I love Joe Biden, Clooney writes in an op-ed in the New York Times, but we are not going to win in November with this president. He says he noticed something was off with the president at the fundraiser, where Biden looked vacant before Barack Obama led him off stage. That, Clooney says, was the same man we all witnessed at the debate.
This race is on a trajectory that is very worrisome if you care about the future of this country. Donald Trump is on track, I think, to win this election and maybe win it by a landslide and take with him the Senate and the House. For me, this isn't a question about polling. It's not a question about politics. It's a moral question about the future of our country.
Since the debate now, they're very concerned that it's not just the presidency that they could lose. They're concerned that they could lose the House and the Senate. The Senate was always going to be tough. Now it's tougher. And they thought that they could maybe very well win the House back. Now they're concerned they're not going to.
How do you win as a Democrat without the media behind you, without Hollywood behind you, without big money donors behind you, without your own party behind you?
If Biden ends up running, potentially the Democrats could lose the Senate, the House, and the White House. And it's going to be a bloodbath. The blue states that we have held for many decades might potentially turn red.
It's more likely that he'll lose by a landslide than win narrowly this race. And if the stakes are as large as he says, and I believe they are, then he really needs to consider what the right thing to do here is.
I think he should step aside. I think it's become clear that he's not the best person to carry the Democratic message.
That's a pretty steep hill to climb if you're anybody. This president might not feel like it's time for him to hang it up, but everybody else around him feels like it's time for him to hang it up. And this all feels very coordinated.
Mr. President, your legacy is set. We owe you the greatest debt of gratitude. The only thing that you can do now to cement that for all time and prevent utter catastrophe is to step down and let someone else do this.
The big guy says the only way he quits is if somebody on his staff would just show him that there's no path to victory.
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No poll says that. How accurate does anybody think the polls are these days?
There's plenty of polls showing that Donald Trump is clobbering Joe in key swing states, and it's got the media worried that someone isn't giving Joe the full picture.
It makes me worry that the president is being given information about his political standing that may not be based in reality.
If they're not telling him the truth, he is in a very, very tough spot. I don't know anyone in politics who would tell you, who looks at the numbers that we see, would tell you that he has a very good chance.
It's obvious to me that his wife and son are not letting him see the actual state of his political affairs.
A longtime Biden advisor just texted me. I am frustrated at the family, the Biden family, for not expanding the circle so there would be at least a truth teller or two in their midst.
In Arizona, Trump's up by more than 5 points. In Georgia, he's up by 4. In Michigan, he's up by 0.6. Biden was leading there before that. And in Pennsylvania, and this is stunning, Biden's down by more than 5 points. Wisconsin, that has Trump up by 2 points. And not only does Cook Political Report show Trump over Biden by almost 3 points nationally, most major demographic groups are also shifting toward Trump and away from Biden. Trump now has 41% of the Hispanic vote, trailing Biden by about 6 points. But in 2020, remember, Biden beat him in that group by 21 points. And Biden's only up by 5 points among voters 18 to 29. Now, that's an age group Biden won by 24 points in 2020. You see the shift? And among independents, it's Trump over Biden by 6 points. No wonder Democrats are so depressed.
Joe Biden is shrinking his inner circle to a group of yes men and women who block him from getting negative information. It says, quote, the White House now is being run by the family and staff who are effectively family, a group that also includes the First Lady Jill Biden's top aide and deputy chief of staff.
Powerful Democrats are reportedly furious at Biden's inner circle. They say his allies have been hiding his decline.
What my colleagues and I have really reported on is there is a lot of anger and the blame that is being placed on the inner circle of advisors and family members around the president. And what these people say is this really painstakingly choreographed and stage managed daily operations at the White House around the president that is set up specifically designed to prevent the public from often seeing the president in these extended, unscripted settings. And one thing that many of the folks that we spoke with that they are so furious about is this idea that when people have gone to these inner circle of advisors around the president to express some of these concerns, that they were not taken seriously or really brushed aside. This is what one top Democrat told me. They said everyone who expresses any level of suspicion or contrary views, they call everyone and they beat them and say, stay on message. Now, it is not just the inner circle of advisors that is getting a lot of this heat. It is also members of the president's family who, of course, have been up there, really standing by the president's decision to so far stay in this race.
Let's be brutally honest what this is all about. They do not care about the taxpayers that pay their salary to keep them in office, to have them do the job of president. They do not necessarily care about anything other than getting power and holding on to power. This is all about Jill Biden making sure that she can remain first lady because it feeds her ego. This is all about Hunter Biden making sure daddy's in power so that we can maintain the ability for me to get a pardon/commutation. And this is all about Joe Biden, who for 82 years has felt insecure about his place in the government because he's not the smartest guy. He didn't go to the best schools. This is all an attempt for him to feel good. And the interests of the country don't matter, it seems.
One of the really kind of sick aspects of this moment is that we are watching every speech, every rally, every debate and saying, how did he do today? And that's just not the way to think about the presidency of the United States.
I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here. I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military, as well as the Secretary of Defense and our intelligence people.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you about your, you mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today.
I love my staff, but they add things all the time. At the very end, I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway.